We're gonna start over. But you're gonna edit this, right? Go to Pat. As he calls me the pro, I fuck it all up.
Yeah, that's exactly why I called you the pro.
All right, here we go. Kill Pop Sessions, and I tell you what, dude, I am so stoked to have you, Kevin Churko.
Thanks.
For one, I haven't seen you in a few years, so I'm really happy to catch up with you. It's been a minute. But for two, there's so much depth with you, and you mean so much to the music world, more than you know. And so I really want to get into some good stuff with you. And the most pressing question I have for you right now, though, really, it's the most important thing I want to know. What were you listening to on the way here?
Oh my God, you're gonna hate this.
I like it. Bring it.
I was just listening to news.
You were listening to the news.
To the news.
Okay. Is that like a thing of like I make pizza for a living, and the last thing I'm going to do when I go home is make pizza?
It's completely that because, you know, if someone like myself is listening and creating heavy music all day, or any kind of music all day, usually when you go home, you want to listen to the opposite. And I definitely have the whiplash kind of tastes where if I was listening to music on the way here, it would be Chet Baker, you know, a trumpet player, you know, West Coast jazz guy. Something mellow like that, completely mellow. And then after listening to that for long enough or something similar, I mean, yacht rock is always a good time.
Oh, hell yeah, baby.
So
Let's do this.
But
Boss Skaggs.
Oh, I love that.
Me too.
I mean, you might as well call it Toto. But
yeah.
But after as listened to that for a while, then you kind of get the ambition to stick on something a little bit heavier. But, you know, when I'm working 12 hours a day, it's like I'm definitely not listening to that on the way home, on the way there. I'm resting my ears, listening to other things, you know.
Sometimes I find, because I have similar-ish, I listen to music for a living, obviously, I'll roll in silence.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
That's the best day.
Isn't it? Just driving the car in silence.
I mean, a lot of people can't.
Yeah.
I mean, if I have guests or my wife in my passenger seat, something like that, I mean, some people just have to have sound on.
Right.
I'm completely not that guy. I don't even have to have the middle of the forest birds nature. I can stick earplugs in and meditate with that, and that would be my method, actually. I don't want to hear a thing.
When COVID hit and I had lost my particular job that I had for a long time.
Yeah.
I didn't listen to music for 3 months.
Wow.
Now, that doesn't mean I didn't hear music.
Yeah.
It was around somewhere, but I didn't have it in my car. I didn't have it in my house. I didn't purposefully bring music to myself.
And was
for
that
3 months? It was the most cleansing, wonderful. I floated in a pool for 3 months during the summer of 2020.
Yeah.
It was
wonderful.
It was wonderful.
I mean, my family always talks about those months because, like yourself, I know a lot of people had some bad times and lived through some, you know, bad moments and tragedies. Fortunately for us, there wasn't many of that.
Right.
So those are some of the best months of our lives, to be honest with you, when the world stopped.
Yeah.
And for the first time in probably 30 years, I was sitting in my pool or lying in my pool with my wife for all day, day after day after day after day. And I'd never done that really in my entire life. It's always work, 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 make hay while the sun shines, you know. Time to do it again. Got Sunday off, but then Monday back at it. Maybe I don't get Sunday off. You know, I work through so many holidays, and it's just you get caught in that trap. And honestly, it was to the detriment of my career in a certain sense, because then I realized, oh, this is actually a different kind of living life. And it was wonderful to experience that. Not as wonderful for some of my clients then, that when I slowed down a lot, I had to let some go. But not because I didn't love them to death or whatever. I just, you know, I just knew I needed to start living a different kind of life. Or I had a insight into a different kind of life, and I thought, wow, this is amazing. This is what regular people do. Maybe not all people do that, but I thought, wow, this is truly, you know, especially in Vegas at that time, springtime in Vegas. Heated the pool a little prematurely, get out there, a couple of cool drinks. I mean, and my kids too. It was heaven for us all. I mean, they were in their own homes, in their own pools, but all of a sudden you didn't have to feel you had to pick up the phone. Nobody was calling. Everybody was dealing with their own stuff. You know, you were listening to different podcasts. In fact, I didn't even really start listening to podcasts until then. In the pool, what do you do in the pool? You can have music going, but like yourself, time to have a break.
Yep.
I started listening to different podcasts, started going for longer walks. I mean, it was, I'm sad to say, I don't want to offend anybody, but it was really a wonderful time.
Considering the job loss or whatever, but I would still always look upon 2020 as incredibly fond. The summer of 2020, very fondly.
Right.
Same thing. Floating in a pool, whatever.
Everything can wait. The problems of
Yeah.
the world can wait.
Yeah.
Right now, we're just going to deal with here and now.
Yeah.
And that was really the power of now, so to speak, was that, okay, I get it now. All
Yeah.
we have to do is deal with this.
Yeah.
As long as one can pay their bills. And again, I understand
And
a lot of
survive.
people
Yeah.
have trouble. So I don't want to diminish that situation.
Sure.
But lucky for me, I wasn't in that situation. So
You started your career in the pop hot AC world with like Michael Bolton and Celine Dion.
well, I wouldn't say I started my career. I mean, that in
Yeah.
a sense, so I don't want to cut you
No,
off.
please go.
But that was really as an engineer working for another producer.
Okay, yeah.
So I used to work for a guy named Mutt Lang, who existed by that time
Right.
in that world. Even though he did Back in Black and other rock things, by that time he was doing what would be called the chick pop
Shania Twain
decade of his life
and all that. Yeah.
So I was his engineer.
Yeah.
And responsible sonically. So, but I mean, I guess it's still the start of my career.
Dude, that's how Jimmy Iovine started. He fell into,
If I take out that, I don't have this. So
100%.
Yeah.
What was it like working with like a Celine Dion? Like,
well, in her case, I have to be honest and say I didn't work with her because at the time I was living in Switzerland, working for Mutt, and she recorded all her vocals in Montreal
Okay.
at her house. So Mutt flew there and recorded all the vocals. She didn't want to come to Switzerland, and rightly so. She was living her best life. So Mutt had to go there, and he didn't take me along on that trip. I was pretty new at that time,
Yeah.
in his world. So he just used Celine's. Celine has a guy. Has her guy. So I didn't
Yeah.
get to work with her. Since then, now, of course, we both live in town here. Now she's been to my studio many, many times.
the Hideout, huh? Really?
In fact, that commercial, that NFL commercial that
Yeah.
she was on, she filmed it at my place.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
She's a cool lady.
Very, very nice.
Yeah, very cool. But you did work with Britney Spears.
I didn't even work with her.
No, that got shipped to you too?
I met her later,
Okay.
afterwards, of course, when she was in Switzerland. But no, that was actually, that's a great story because that was the story that gave me my job, working for Mutt.
Okay.
So basically, Mutt had a different guy, a Swiss guy at that point, and Britney showed up to record her vocals on a song, and she showed up, and all of a sudden, the song wasn't ready. All the work that Mutt had done, all the prep work, was gone. She had nothing to sing on. They couldn't find the files, and so basically, what happened was she had to wait for 3 days while Mutt rebuilt the track and re-recorded everything he needed to re-record, and then she was staying. Mutt had this beautiful Swiss chateau, but the studio was in the old barn. And in fact, half of the barn was still a barn, and half it was a studio with, accommodation for artists and that sort of thing. Like, it was very high end. But she had been sitting around with the horses long enough that her allergies were killing her. And by the time that they were ready for her to sing, she couldn't sing because her allergies were crazy, and she was all puffy and throat closed up. So she had to go back to America, which meant Mutt had to go back to America to record too. And so that, I think, was one of his last straws where he started looking around for a different person. And luckily that was me.
Ta-da.
So then I parachuted in for that job and then worked with him on that entire track, but didn't get to record her voice on that.
Was she?
Strike two.
That's okay. I like coming to the plate.
But she was very, very hospitable when she came to Switzerland to tour. It was great because then I was able to take my family. My daughter at that time was probably like 9 or 10, so she was really into it. And my son was later teen, so he was still into it too.
Yeah. You were super
Oh,
dad.
for sure. Going backstage at a Britney Spears concert. Yeah, it was cool.
Could you see the crazy coming on in her then?
No.
No. Yeah, that became a later in life thing with her, huh?
Of course, I've seen what everybody else has seen,
Sure.
but I'm not behind the scenes. I tend to really try not to make a judgment on something like that, even though it's hard not to. I mean, I just saw some recent stuff, and all you can feel is empathy for,
Right.
or maybe not empathy because I'm not in that situation, but sympathy for her situation. everything that's gone down, I mean, that would be difficult. So-
It's pretty tough. Tell me about rolling into the rock world. My first introduction to you as a producer, as the guy, was Ozzy.
Yeah. You know, I wish I could do those records with what I know now after all the years after that. But
Why is that?
you know, because you get better throughout your life, right? I mean, even that record, those first 2 albums I made with him, I learned an incredible amount in every way. And, you know, I mean, I was ready for it and I did the best job I could. But fast forward 15 years after that, and the knowledge I had now could make a better record.
Right.
You know, I love him to death still. But as you would expect, someone who had never produced a record of that note or of that kind of an artist,
Right.
a lifetime artist, it was crazy. But, you know, I just tended to try to not think about it and just show up every day. Even with working with Zach, I mean, both those guys. I mean, I would sit in the room sometimes and go, "What am I doing here?" I mean, you know, this is so far beyond me. But I grabbed that opportunity as hard as I could and just kept, you know, doing whatever I could to make it happen. By that time, he had already tried to do records for quite a few years and bailed on them. So the goal was just to get one finished and to get it actually released. And there's a lot of things, people that have to prove it and go through it. So, you know, for me, nothing but success and graciousness from that project, which have obviously led to a lot of the other things that I'm doing too. So,
Ozzy, in my opinion, or at least in my experience, is a wonderful man to be with. He's a very gracious person,
Yeah.
as far as what my experience was.
Yeah.
Is yours the same?
oh my God, yeah, he could, you know, he did tell me the same story several times, and every time it was better.
Yeah.
Which is the sign of a true artist. Every
Right.
time you do anything, it gets better and
Put
better,
some extra
right?
color on it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he was really such a joy to work with. I mean, I you know, you have to be careful. We were talking about this earlier on. You have to be careful when you meet the important people in your life, or I shouldn't say important people in life, but the important artists that you've loved, you know, because you don't know what you're going to get.
Right.
And it's a tragedy, and many of us had happened where you meet somebody who you love their music, and you meet them, and maybe they're having a bad day, maybe it's not, you know, a good time for them, and it does sort of taint your listening to that music you've been listening to your whole life. All of a sudden, every time you listen to it, you remember those times.
Right.
And I've been so lucky almost every time. Like I really can't think of one artist I've met that it hasn't gone great, even though my friends have so many stories, and sometimes with the same people. But for whatever reason, you know, I've been lucky and exceptionally lucky with him. We had a great time. He's very comical.
Yep.
He tells great jokes. You know, he was just recently sober at that time, so
Yeah.
he's always on time. 90, like he told, you know, the staff told me when I first started, you know, he may come down about, you know, because it was in his house, right, the Beverly Hills house. You know, he's going to come down probably, you know, 3 or 4 and talk to you about some of the recording and stuff. And then, you know, you'll go through some things and it won't last for very long. And then Zach will be in later and blah, blah, blah. And he started coming in at 3 or 4. And then a week later, he's the 1 or 2. And pretty soon he's like waiting for me at 9 a.m. when I'm getting in, because I like to work early.
Right.
All of a sudden he'd be there waiting for me. So, I mean, it was really a great time and an exciting time for me and my family. And I think he probably had a great time too, because he asked me to do the next album as
Yeah.
well. So,
Yeah. Be careful when you meet your heroes, and it worked out.
Oh, it really did. Yeah.
Yeah.
it really
He's
did.
incredible.
Not a bad word really to say.
No.
I mean, I can't think of one bad experience.
With Ozzy, yeah,
No.
me neither.
No.
Are you going to be in London for the show?
Still undetermined. I think I won't.
Oh,
but
bummer, yeah.
not for reasons that I don't want to be there, or
Yeah,
not for
of
reasons
course.
that I wouldn't love to be there. But
Yeah, man. It's
Yeah.
you know, he's such a treasure.
yeah,
He really is.
he deserves all the good things that he gets.
Yeah, he really, really does. So you have worked on some of the most amazing pieces of work and art in the hard rock and metal world, including. Am I wrong on this one? The entire Five Finger Death Punch collection?
The
Are we close?
the entire thing except for the first record.
Okay,
Yeah.
But for the second on, you're in.
The next 8.
Yeah. that band is a treasure as well. I love all of them. But did you grow with them and
For
go
sure.
through their?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, we were so connected.
Yeah.
Like financially, in a sense, we were all poor when we started those records. I wouldn't say poor, but
Sure.
just musicians starting out. None of them had really had any success. I had some success with Ozzy, but not necessarily in a position where I was any different than them.
Middle class.
Yeah.
Middle class working musician, music people.
I would say maybe even less.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
But, I moved into Vegas. I moved here in 2005. I didn't tell Ozzy I was here at that time because I didn't want to lose that gig. But I didn't start that record till 2006, I believe. But I started the first Five Finger, I think maybe 2008 or 2009, and they had all moved here.
Yeah.
They were from other places.
Yeah.
Jason Hook at that time was still living in California, I believe. So he bought a house while he was working with us or me. So we kind of, and at the first day, Zoltan, the leader of the band, pulls up in his car. It's the same car as mine. He's wearing the same boots. I'm actually still wearing the same boots
Oh,
today.
nice.
Not the same
Yeah.
boots, but the
same
tenth
stuff,
pair
yeah.
of them. He's already moved on to other things. I'm a little bit more static, but they had kind of had a made a splash, minor little hit, but nothing major. Some people who knew who I was, but nothing major. And we made the first record, and then the second one, and then here's the thing. Then everybody starts doing better. The band starts doing better. First record was made in my house. Second record, most of it was made in my house, but then by that time I had a little bit more budget, so I built a studio here in town, which I don't think you were ever at, but the one at the bootlegger restaurant. Okay, so then I did the next bunch there, then bought the new
Hideout.
Graders studio and did a bunch, the rest of them there. They went on to living better lives and bigger houses and faster cars and more notoriety and better shows, bigger shows. So yeah, I would say that we absolutely grew with each other, and it was great because we could share that experience. It wasn't like I was this old mentor that, okay, boys, now I'm going to tell you how it's going to work.
Right.
And it's
you
not
weren't Rick Rubin
right.
at the Beastie Boys.
And it
stuff,
wasn't like they were Ozzy,
to you.
having all the leverage over me. It
Yeah.
was like, we're going to do this together with each other. And honestly, at the very start of it, I would never have guessed that it would have been eight records deep, and that we'd work each other right now, I don't know, more than 15 years, I guess. And considering that, the first one, I'm not sure how much I should say, but it's probably not anything but public. Some members of the band are ready to quit the entire time, and it goes,
they're a dramatic band.
They're artists.
Yeah.
They're all
Yeah, they're
artists, and
yeah.
artists are passionate,
Yeah.
and it was wonderful to keep them all together and focused, and that was part of my duty as far as the recordings went. Once they get on the road, and that's of course other people's.
That's Jackie. Yeah.
That's Jackie.
That's Jackie.
God
yeah.
bless Jackie. That's all I'll
yeah,
say.
dude. She got that one down.
She's super great.
Yeah, she really is.
And really, honestly, she's the only one that's worked with the band longer than me, and she was about a year ahead of me. She was right from the start.
She brought me the bleeding.
Really.
So
Wow.
she was there. That was their first
Yeah.
one, right? Yeah,
That was her.
That's
Yeah.
right out of the gate.
Yeah.
She was on it, and
She's the one we
still
should
strong.
blame. We can completely blame her for all the Five Finger records.
She's great.
Or thank her. Let's thank her.
Oh, dude, totally. Yeah, she's great. She's
Yeah.
killer ears too.
Yeah.
We're talking about Full Metal Jackie, by the way.
Yes.
Disturbed. How did that come along? I know because I remember when everybody thought Disturbed was broken up,
Yeah.
and they were actually hiding in Las Vegas with you.
Yeah, that was fun.
How'd that come about?
Really, just like anything, it was actually a little bit of a process to get hired by those guys. I mean, they had a bit of leverage, and hadn't done a record in, I think, four years at that point or something like that, maybe more. And, I was one guy on a list, and they liked some of the stuff I had done. And, this is how it went. I had to go to LA, and they were at a hotel, and they were interviewing to my knowledge, about 10 or 12 guys that they were just having a conversation with, just sitting by the pool talking, asking me things. And I hung out there for a couple hours, and then I left, and the next guy comes through. And then they chose 3 guys that they actually started working with. And this is all, everything had to be top secret. Nobody could talk about it.
Right.
I had to make sure nobody was in my studio. But they actually came to Vegas and worked at a different studio with an out-of-town producer. And then they came to my place, and they worked with everybody for a couple of days. And then one other guy in California. Everybody got a couple days, and then they chose who they liked working with. So it was almost like the like American Idol of producers.
Cool.
And lucky enough, it went well enough. And of course, I was completely excited, completely into it. And I would have done whatever it took to make those albums as good as they were. So I was grateful they chose me, and we had a couple good hits. And
yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. Yes, you did. Sound of Silence. How did you talk David into that?
I wish it was me. I'd like to take all the credit for Sound of Silence. No, it was really the definition of a team sport, of a rock band way of doing things. Mm-hmm. And it was basically the drummer Mike. They've done covers in the past, Shout and a couple different
Genesis.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they had done things like that in the past, and we weren't sure if they wanted to do a cover, but they said, if we're going to do a cover, let's start thinking of it now. So by the time the record's done, we'll have had the thought process. And so when we started that album, we didn't know what the cover was going to be. Nobody had chosen it. And on the way, how about this song? Nah. 4 days later, how about this song? Nah, David won't sing it. How about this song? No, Dan doesn't dig it. And then finally, Mike, the drummer, says, how about Sound of Silence? And the room kind of got quiet. What? Sound of, you like that
Simon and Garfunkel.
The Simon and Garfunkel song?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hello, darkness, my... I mean, it wasn't like that. It was, hello, darkness, my old friend.
Yeah.
But Dave went through the lyrics real quick and said, maybe. And Dan kind of listened to it and go, maybe. Came back the next day and said, yeah, we should maybe try that. And, of course, I think the original idea, I'm already thinking in my head, I'm already planning it out, hello, darkness, my old... just to kind of disturb the whole thing up.
Yeah.
But it was Dan, the guitar player, who would be responsible for all that says, no, let's just take the guitar out of it. Let's just do it something completely different. Let's turn it into a ballad or something else. And so, I just started dicking around on the piano, really just trying to find a key for David to sing. So I'd be playing things and then trying to make it as, dark and kind of sexy as I could. And then David would sing along to it until I felt that he had the right key. But once we had it right, it's just, oh yeah, that's it. That'll be great. And then then just take the process of building the track up. At that time I had basically a computer and keyboard, like to do all the orchestration and to arrange all that, to come up with all that. And basically I was kind of doing it a little more in the downtime before the guys would show up. I'd do a little bit, and we'd be working on other songs. And before we started that, I'd like to get there like a 8 or 9. And every day I'd do a little more, and sometimes I played for them, sometimes I wouldn't. And all of a sudden I started playing it for them, and they loved it. I still was always kind of thinking that it was eventually going to evolve into, Down with the Sickness or something like that. But it didn't, and it was actually quite a challenge because it's really a verse. It's a song of 5 verses. There's no real chorus.
Right.
Like, it's not like you're always blossoming the song up to hit the chorus hard. It's just verse, 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 verse. And so the way we combated that, start low and high, keep the orchestration going. The other interesting thing that a lot of people don't know is that it's a constant, the tempo is always speeding up. From the start of it to the end of it, it speeds up a lot. And you don't notice it because you're going through all the changes with it, but just ways of keeping it more interesting for the average person without them knowing. And then after we were done, everybody looks at each other and goes, that's freaking awesome, I think. That's awesome, right? That's really good.
Right.
And we all thought it was. And And so, record label comes, and I think they thought it was pretty good, but I don't think anybody, other than us, the guys in the band and me, thought it was as good as we thought it was. But, every artist always thinks their latest song is their best.
Sure.
And it wasn't really until people started hearing it that they decided, yeah, that's it. And they could see, the great thing about albums these days, putting an album out, is you can get the data almost instantly.
Yeah.
What are people playing, especially if the song's deeper on the list? If people are playing song number 7 on your album and that's what they're playing the most, that's the hit.
Yeah. I don't think they meant to have that be a single.
I don't think we thought it could be one.
Yeah.
I thought we knew it was good, movie song, something, but I don't think radio's going to play that. There's no drums.
I was there for that change.
Wow.
If you were
What was that like? Tell me.
Obviously they work me on the light.
Is that Jackie? Oh no, sorry,
No.
I'm thinking of Five Fingers. So that was
Heather.
Warner.
It was Heather at Warner Brothers.
Right.
She's working me on the light.
Right. Which is a great song.
I love that song.
Yeah, that's probably
one of my favorite Disturbed songs is The Light.
Just fun side fact, that's probably one of my favorite mixes that I've done for any band. Too.
Any band? Really?
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite songs.
Yeah.
I love Disturbed because there's so much positivity in the music, but you think it's going to be like a down, but it's like, love is alive, whatever.
Sometimes darkness will show you the light.
Yeah, exactly. But, so they're working me on The Light.
Right.
It's a great song. Cool. We're listening to the album, me and my former boss, and we hear Sound of Silence. And we both looked at each other and we said, fuck The Light. We're playing Sound of Silence.
Wow.
And I called Heather and I said, Heather, we're playing Sound of Silence. She said, what? We're working The Light. We got everything going on with The Light. And I'm like, that's cool. We're playing Sound of Silence.
Wow.
And she goes, wow, okay. And 2 weeks later, we were already playing it here in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I remember that actually. Because I remember people are calling me, telling me, and I think you started playing it at night.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And people, even though The Light was already getting close to number one then,
yeah,
people are calling me, yeah, they're playing Sound of Silence. And I go, what? Just out of the blue? Yeah, they're playing it.
So Vegas is the one that bred that.
I think I remember a conversation like that.
Yeah.
Thinking, in fact, I think they were more upset than anything that you weren't focusing on the light still.
They were.
Because we needed the numbers to get it to number one.
They were. And we ended up doing The Light. We were there.
Yeah.
But Sound of Silence, I worked for somebody who was like, this is a great song. I don't give a shit.
Wow.
What the record label says.
Yeah.
We're playing this song.
Yeah.
And we started pounding Sound of Silence.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So,
I loved hearing it.
Yeah. It's still just everywhere.
Yeah.
Now, was there pressure on you as a producer to recreate something like that for the next album, another smash ballad?
Yeah. Well, yes and no. I think they didn't want, not just them, but honestly, almost any band is always looking for an anomaly like that. I'd call it an anomaly, not something that you can plan. But that's the truth. It's an anomaly, not something you can plan. Everything has to fall into place to make that work. Like I said, it took a good idea from the drummer, from Mike. It took David to be able to execute it. It took Dan to not want to play all over, heavy guitar all over top of it. And then ultimately, it took the manager, Jeff, to love it, and the label, and everybody, and then obviously the people. But, as far as pressure, you always have pressure to repeat the success of anything, even with the Five Finger guys. I mean, you're always trying to beat the last hit.
Right.
So, yeah, I guess the answer to your question is
I
yes.
just remember them trying to push another ballad the next album.
Yeah.
And
I didn't know if that one ever got pushed, but did it?
It did get pushed.
It did get pushed?
It did, yeah.
Okay.
I,
Obviously, it didn't work then.
It didn't work. But they had great songs on the next album,
Yeah,
but it
yeah,
was the
yeah.
hit, the ballad
Yeah.
wasn't the hit off
Yeah.
the next album.
Yeah.
But those guys are great. And
I did love that song, by the way, too, though. I love that they chose that it was a Sting song. Is that the one you're talking about?
All this time?
Yeah.
What's that? Yeah.